So the video that you're about to see is an example of when things go wrong. They can go wrong catastrophically. I started out with a very simple idea, and I knew I had most of the materials I needed on hand, so I didn't have to buy anything. Unfortunately, the paint I chose for this project was defective, and I didn't know it. So as we work through or muddle through this project, you're going to find that I start to lose my temper, and I swear quite profoundly, actually. I was infuriated because I had just about finished the project and things took a very, very bad turn very quickly. So please excuse the foul language you will hear in this video. I can't be nice and cheerful all the time. This is one of those examples. So one of the lessons that you're going to learn is, number one, be sure you're painting in a very well ventilated, dust-free area. I chose the great outdoors. The problem with that is wind picks up and can ruin a good paint job very quickly. Dust particles, etc. Humidity can be unpredictable, which can vary drying times. But unfortunately, I don't have a choice. This is what I'm given. This is what I have. Until I sell my condo, which will happen for another probably 5 or 6 years, this is what I got. So, the next thing is make sure the materials you're about to use are top-notch. Now, I must have purchased a bad batch of Valspar red paint. I only bought it because I like the color, and as I learned in this project, that the paint was certainly defective, as you're going to see later on. So, enjoy the video, and again, apologies in advance for any foul language you might hear in this particular video. What we have here is a mid-1960s Knapp-Monarch Jack Frost fan. Now, it's in its original condition. It's never been restored or repaired. I've really just done regular maintenance to it as long as I've had it. It's been a few years. But I've decided to give this fan to my father. Ironically, he's the one who gave it to me. But he's redoing his office at home. Because he was a fireman many years ago, well, not really that long ago, but he was a fireman and is now he retired from the fire department. I thought I would redo this fan as a gift to him, and I'm going to make it fire themed or fire engine themed. So here's what I have in mind. The blades are going to come off and they're going to be painted bright gold. I stole this paint from my dad's paint cabinet. And don't worry, it's all good. Anyway, so I want to paint it bright gold, and the body of the fan will be painted fire engine red. So I've got to start disassembling this fan and cleaning everything up so that it will be ready to take the paint. So the back cover has got to come off, like so. And I've got to actually splice the wiring somehow. Is that my handiwork? I think it might be. Yeah, it is. But I've got to splice it, and I might even put a new cord on it. So let's just cut the cord off. Screw it. It's actually kind of an old, wimpy little cord. No, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. But I do have to take the cord off to get this all redone. This cover has to come off completely. Alright, well that was easy. I just took off the single bolt that holds the motor housing to the base, and I took off the 2 nuts that hold the fan grill to the motor. Now we got to remove the blades, just like that. Yeah, it sort of came out. That makes it easy. That aside, we're going to have to clean and degrease the blades. The motor itself, or at least the windings, should just pop right out. There's not really much of anything holding them in now. So it just pops out like so. Okay. Oops. There's that. Armature. Okay. Now we've pretty much dug in there. We now have to degrease and lightly sand the motor housing and the base. We're going to paint those first. When it comes to degreasing, well, anything, I use the cheapest stuff I can find. I buy this stuff at the dollar store. It works very quickly and effectively. You can also use Simple Green. It's an excellent degreaser. But for just degreasing fan parts and other things, this stuff works great. I've applied many coats of paint, or painted many objects after degreasing with that stuff. Just let it sit for a couple of minutes and kind of work it in with a sponge. Makes it a little easier. And I'm just going to rough up the surface with the Brillo pad. This is going to be a quick and dirty paint job. You know, it probably won't last forever, but I don't want to put, you know, too much effort into this because it's just something that's going to sit on his desk and he'll probably never use it. So I'm just going to do just a quickie job. But after seeing what he's done with his office, I think a nice, fire engine themed fan would look really nice. And I've chosen the Knapp-Monarch out of all of my vintage fans because it's worth practically nothing as it is. And it's in great shape. So that means I have a great platform to work from. It's a good running fan with very little wear and tear on it. So, it's a great candidate for a project like this, where he could use it if he wanted to. But I have a nice original Handy Breeze that's in perfect condition, so that's my desk fan, and I use it all the time. When you live in an unair-conditioned house, cooling fans like that, or desk fans, are terrific to have because, while you're working away, it really helps keep you nice and comfortable. So that is actually why I got into fan collecting in the first place, because I don't have air conditioning, and I don't want to pay for the expense of having air conditioning. I could air condition my condo, but like I said, the expense is just not worth it to me. So, get this nice and cleaned up. The Brillo pad does a nice job of roughing up the finish. It's a new Brillo pad, so it's not worn down too much. We just want to take the shininess away. I could use 1000 grit sandpaper, but like I said, we're doing a quick and dirty paint job. Nothing too fancy. So that's strictly out of choice. Get some nice hot water, and we're going to flush all this stuff away. If this were a real collector's item, an old GE, or hell, even that Victor I just did, where I kind of went crazy with it, I'd be doing a better job. But because of this, we're not dealing with a real classic here. Just get it done. I just found a shaft or washer there. I don't want to, so that gets put back. Alright. And we're going to make sure everything is nice and dry so there's no rust or flash rust, after assembly. Got to do the rear cover too. Now the rear cover on this one has a little bit of paint damage, and that was another reason why I felt the nice repaint would really do it some justice. Because that that paint damage is in a very visible area. But this is a very inexpensive, probably drugstore fan from the 1960s. This was not a very high quality, very expensive fan, even when it was new. And that cream color is just hideous. I hate it. I've always hated it, you know. So we're going to get this all cleaned out. I have another fan that's actually the exact same color, and it looks awful. It's a GE, and I just don't like the color. If it were bright white, or something a little bit nicer, maybe I'd be a little nicer to it, but because it's not. Alright, that takes care of that part of the... Okay, now we're going to lay down some paint. I couldn't get this wire grommet out. It is hard plastic and it is stamped in there. So we just kind of have to paint it. And what we're going to do is we're going to get our parts laid out. I'm using Krylon Fusion. Actually, no, this is Valspar. This is a Krylon Fusion knockoff. But it works pretty well. It's an old can. I want to kind of use it up. There we go. Alright, wait for the wind to calm down a little bit. You want to do nice, light coats first. Move the table out a little bit. I don't want to get overspray on the house. But it's like death and taxes is going to happen. Living in a condo makes this stuff kind of hard to do. If you want to do a nice job at it anyway. It's going on nice. I'm not getting a lot of, or any fish eyes, which is good to see. But like I said, once again, this is a quick and dirty paint job. I can see the paint is spitting a little bit. This is an old can that's been frozen at least once or twice. So the propellant's not there. The paint's probably thickened up a little bit. It's not the best. But when you want to do a project like this with no budget, yeah, I should have put some primer over it because you can see where the old wear marks are in the finish. It'll take a few coats of paint to hide all that. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Just light coats. Dust it on first. Get your finish established. It's going to take a few coats of paint to do this right, though. Unfortunately. But I think the color is about what I'm looking for. It's not perfect. It's not perfect, but it'll do. I got a little hair there. Ah, crap. I ruined it. Right, a few more coats of paint and that'll go away. I'm gonna move this to the edge. Called a quick and dirty paint job. I don't have all the time in the world to do this right. There we go. Get it tacky in between coats. Some of those marks are going away finally. And I like to paint on days where it's slightly humid so the paint doesn't dry instantly, which is why today's kind of perfect. This is perfect painting weather. It just rained, so there's little dust to deal with, and the humidity is low enough, sorry, to prevent the paint from drying on contact. So, but this is going to be tacky for a little while. It's going to have to contend with that. So it's going to be sitting out here for a little bit. Also, make sure you wear a mask when you're painting with this stuff, because it can cause brain damage. Probably going to have to flip that around and paint the other side where underneath here. But that's good enough for now. I'm going to let that cure for a couple hours. But I'm going to get started on the fan blades. So for the fan blades, we need to remove the center badge first. And that's actually held on by these little twist lock tabs. Straighten them out. My only concern is they may be fatigued already, because I've had to tighten them up a few times because the center badge used to rattle. And when metal fatigues, it breaks. It hardens and breaks. Work hardens. So, let's see if the badge comes off. Yep, I think we're good. Next, we have to degrease the fan blades and remove all that oil that may have filmed up over the years. And we're going to just degrease both sides. And just like we did with the fan body and strut assemblies and all that happy stuff, we need to kind of scrub it, roughen it up a little bit with the sponge, and then rinse it with hot water. Here's another color that I really don't like. It's like a bronze. I'm sure in 1966 when it was made, it was a beautiful product, but not my taste, thank you very much. Doesn't matter anyway, it's getting repainted, so who cares? While these little drugstore fans are rapidly becoming popular in the collector circles, they're not great fans. I mean, this one here didn't even have a power switch. It was one of those ones that you would unplug when it wasn't in use. So I added a power switch to the cord, which worked out very well, actually. But worked out very well indeed. And the times that I used it on my desk at work, which I had to remove for OSHA. So, yes, you cannot have one of these in a place of employment because they do not meet OSHA regulations. Even if they're grandfathered, they have to go away. If you can stick your fingers in the blades, it's not considered safe. So, there's your lesson for the day. If you collect antique fans and you decide to bring them to work, don't get mad at your boss when they tell you it has to go away. At the time, I think I had this at my job in, or no, it wasn't this fan, it was a different one. I worked at a manufacturing company doing data entry. It was a temp job, and I brought one of these old fans to work to use at my desk, and my boss came over and saw it, and she said, "Get that fucking thing off your desk." That's exactly what she said, and I quote. I'm like, okay, so I did. Anyway, so that takes care of that. We've got to now put gold paint on that and see how it goes. First, we're going to check it for lint and dust from the rag that I just dried it with. Oh. Okay, it's blade time. Now, I don't know how good this paint's going to work. I've never used gold paint before. But it's an old can. This is probably from about 3-4 years ago. Maybe even longer. So I remain cautiously optimistic. Okay, nozzle's good. So I'm going to do the back first. Well, this stuff looks good. It's bright. Oh shit, we have fish eyes. That's not good. That's not what we want to see. Okay. Now I degreased the hell out of these blades. That shouldn't be happening. But it is chilly. It's getting kind of chilly out. Let's see if they go away. Nah, Jesus. That looks like shit. It is fish eyeing. It's going on too thick. That's one of the symptoms. I may have to do something a little different here. You know, it doesn't look too bad. I ran into some issues with this paint. I'm not familiar with gold paint. It goes on a little differently than the stuff I'm used to working with. It actually has ground up bits of metal in it. So that's how it gets its pigment. I mean, there's real metal flake in this. It's not gold, but it's real metal flake. And what happens is, if you're painting the part and you put it on too thick, the metallic substance will actually collect. For example, if I'm painting a blade like this, all the metal will start to run down the blade and collect on the leading edge. So you have to put it on in extra thin coats, providing enough time to air dry in between those coats. But once you get it right, it can look pretty good. This is the back of the blade, but the front of the blade, it's a little late for this now, but I'm finding that there are little bits of dust embedded in the finish. I had to paint it kind of like this, and it was very challenging. Because I have no patience, I don't have a proper workshop, I have to do things quickly. Because I don't want this project to drag out and be in my way for a long period of time. So I tend to rush things. And this is what happens when you rush things. But I've already applied a nice, generous clear coat finish on top of it. You want to do your clear coat before the paint completely cures. That way the two can bond seamlessly and meld with one another. If you don't, and I learned this the hard way, but if you let the paint fully cure before you clear coat it, you get kind of a milky or a whitish finish underneath the clear coat, and it looks like hell. But, you know, it didn't come out too bad. There's just a few little pieces of dust in there that I kind of wish weren't there. But it's too late to go all over it. The thing is, I'm running out of paint. I actually painted this 3 times. This is the 3rd time. And on the 3rd try, I put a clear, I put a primer coat on it first. And then I did the gold. The primer was a good idea. Because I didn't have to lay the paint on so thickly to get it to look good. But I think contrasting these two colors is going to be beautiful. I just wish the front of the blade came out as good as the back. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. But you know what? When you work on projects like this, you do learn things of, you know, you just don't want to repeat your mistakes, which I do a lot of. I'm good at that. I do repeat the mistakes of the past a lot. I know better. I shouldn't rush this. It's getting dark. It's getting chilly out there. I should have just held off and done this right. But you know what? I'm happy with it. And I'm sure my dad will love it. So, like, why did you do it that way? Because I'm a dumb fuck. But no, seriously. There we go. Just gonna let that cure overnight. We're gonna let these parts cure overnight. I may throw another coat on these, but maybe not. I'm actually satisfied with the finish. It doesn't look that bad. It actually looks kind of good, I think. The paint went on beautifully. There is a nice, perfect gloss. You don't have to clear coat solid colors, but whenever you're doing a metallic finish, you have to clear coat it. If you don't, the metallic finish will dull. It won't last very long. So you have to encapsulate that and protect it from exposure to the air. So I got the fan grill all cleaned up. Polished with steel wool and WD-40. This has been asked on a few forums I've seen. How do you polish chrome, or how do you make it shine again? If it's good quality chrome, you can use quadruple zero fine, super fine steel wool and WD-40. I've used it on a lot of projects and it looks beautiful. You don't need to use metal polish, just WD-40. It's that simple. But on some cheaper chromes, it may actually scratch. So I would suggest testing it on an insuspicious spot first, and then give it a shot. Okay, you got all the paint done. The tins came out beautiful, I think. A little bit of orange peel on the main motor housing, but for the most part, it came out pretty damn good. There are several coats of paint here. Probably 3 coats of paint on that. This came out superb. Look at that. That is the best mirror finish I've ever laid down with a rattle can in my life. I don't know what it was. It just came out good. Really good. I don't usually have that kind of luck, but it came out superb. I'm going to let this stuff harden overnight before I assemble it. So about 24 hours or so it'll harden. The base got 3, 4, maybe 5 coats of paint, and that came out beauteous. The blade, well, like I said earlier, not so much. This stuff is hard to work with. I mean, it looks okay on camera, but in person you can see where there was little bits of dust in the finish that I couldn't get out. It's too late now. It's already painted at that point. I cleaned up the motor a little bit. Took the shaft out, cleaned the shaft thoroughly, made it look new again. I'm fortunate that the head badge still looks perfect. There's no missed print or anything like that to deal with. Everything kind of looks, you know, just as it should. Knapp-Monarch, Jack Frost. I put the badge back on, just a twist lock. It can't be taken off again though. The tabs will break if they're twisted one more time. Yeah, that's the problem with metal fatigue, is that kind of happens. So you don't want to twist those too many times. It's been off once or twice. This is it. It can't come off again. It'll break. So that's it. Of course, if that were to happen, I would just take a blob of liquid nails and stick it on with that, but probably wouldn't last forever. So it's coming together. Tomorrow we'll finish. Okay, we're at the step now where we have to literally bake the finish onto the metal parts. Now, I find that by baking spray painted surfaces at a lower temperature, I'm doing it at 250 Fahrenheit, for about 20 to 30 minutes, actually helps level the finish off and really brings out the shine. I've experimented a few times on several objects I've painted, and every time I get a harder finish and a more glossy finish, a more even finish when I bake it. I'm using my household oven with air source right there, and I've got a large window fan, an old Lakewood, pulling the air through the house to help ventilate it. There really aren't, the fumes aren't really that bad. It's not something I'd recommend you do, but, you know, until I have a proper shop setup, this is the kind of crap I have to put up with if I want results. And as you see later on, the finish didn't come out perfect either. I mean, I was actually able to get it down to a mirror finish without any wet sanding by using a slower drying paint, which I'm finding that that Valspar stuff fits the bill just fine. Using a slower drying finish and under the right conditions, you can avoid overspray altogether, especially when painting small objects. So I'm going to take a quick peek in the oven. We're going to see what this stuff looks like. I'm going to bring the temperature down a little bit by opening the door, but not bad. I actually had some of these parts out earlier, and I could see my reflection clear as a day in the red finish. So that's the effect I'm going for. On a side note, with that Valspar paint, which I bought originally to do this spice rack, I've noticed that the Valspar paint takes months to cure. Yeah, literally months to get it to cure properly. And that's without baking. Obviously, I'm not going to bake a spice rack. But when I painted this, the paint was tacky for approximately 6 months after I painted it. So I'm wondering if the paint is defective, but we're going to try it anyway. I'm hoping it doesn't, take that long to get it to fully cure on the. I actually attributed the slow curing time to the moisture in the wood, slowly outgassing, preventing the paint from drying. I'm hoping I don't have that problem here. Again, we're baking the finish, which should eliminate that problem completely. But when it does dry, it's going to be mirror smooth. Almost like glass. That was the intent. It isn't perfect, but like I said, as long as I don't have a proper workshop, I will never get the results the professionals get. I mean, here I am painting outside, and in New England, weather is quite unpredictable. I could be painting, and then all of a sudden, it rains, or it doesn't rain, or wind starts picking up and blowing dust. That's what a lot of these defects are caused by. And that and improper preparation, because I don't have an ability to sand everything the way I want to, because I don't have the facilities. It's like it's a never-ending battle. Unfortunately, I won't be able to solve this problem until I figure out a way to get rid of my condo. But until then, this is what I've got to deal with. But it isn't perfect. I give the paint quality it's almost like a Chinese or Harbor Freight level paint job. That's what I'm going to call it. Yeah, it's a Harbor Freight tool paint job is what it looks like. Although not a bad one. Not a bad one indeed. I've done worse, but I've done better. But it is what it is, and the finished product, I think, will, when you put it all together, I think it'll look fine. Just fine. And with some upgraded hardware. This is the bolt that I chose to use for the head tilt hinge, or, tilt point, hinge. Let's call it a hinge. This is what came off the fan for that very same application. We have a cheap screw. I'm actually going to increase the hole diameter. I was actually drilling it when I realized that my paint wasn't fully cured. So we're going to be using this. It's a beefier screw with a cast brass alloy. Brass is an alloy. Why did I say alloy? Wing nut. The original manufacturer, OEM, used a stamped wing nut. Come on. You can do better than that. So, increase the diameter. I'm going to be using a nice cast brass wing nut. And that's going to go right through here. It'll be nice. This hole was actually drilled by the original owner as a way to mount it to a workbench. And we're going to be plugging that hole with a, I just had it out here. I found a brass screw that was the perfect size. It's a regular dome-headed screw, a round-headed screw. And did I toss it in there? No, I didn't. But it's on this counter somewhere. Oh, there it is. That's going to go just to fill in that hole. It looks like it belongs there, and it will match the swivel or tilt knuckle. That's it. It's a knuckle, not a hinge. So I'm going to be using the original wire. I've decided that there's nothing wrong with it. It's original to the fan. It's still in good shape, and it's going to get reused. We're just going to wire it in correctly and wire it in properly. I mean, not incorrectly. Yeah. I just realized what I did there. So I'm going to wire it properly, and it's going to be just fine. This is the motor. I cleaned that up a little bit. Oiled. I already pre-oiled my felt pads, just so I don't forget, because I will forget. And there you have it. This sucker's coming together quite nicely. One quick design improvement that I've decided to do is I have shaped this. Now, again, no proper shop, improper shop environment, improper tools, no patience, and this is what you get. I had to chop down and drill out a bushing. That's going to go right in between here, so that the knuckle can be clamped down properly. The way this fan was originally made, there was nothing in there to allow any pressure or allow any tension on that knuckle. So if you tighten it too much, the entire base would start collapsing in on itself. So I fashioned this little piece of nylon. This originally had a smaller diameter hole, but I bored it out with a 1/4-inch drill bit. And I chopped it down with a Dremel tool, and well, that was a disaster. So it's a little smaller than I wanted, but I'm going to make up for it. I'm going to just clamp it down onto this, and that'll be fine. So that means that the fan will no longer flop over because there was not enough tension on the knuckle. So a few design improvements over the original. This is my old NES cartridge slot, which failed miserably. I am having the hell of a time keeping that Nintendo running. This cartridge slot was the replacement for the original, and it just started acting up really badly, and games are getting stuck in it. I put in a new slot. I'm having the same freaking problem. Oh man, that'll be I might just try to find another Nintendo with a lightly used original slot. Maybe it'll be fine. Or perhaps I ruined the NES 10 chip or 10 NES chip when I disabled it. That could be too. So stay tuned for that. Good. Okay, sometimes you have to you reach a point with a project where you just say fuck it. Just fuck it. The paint situation is getting worse. I'm finding that the paint does not cure at all. This was oven cured for about an hour combined. And look at this. I just grazed my fingernail over it and it scratches. What the fuck? You know, I should know better. This paint was bad. This is never a good I will never buy this paint again. This is Lowe's brand Valspar. They didn't have the color I wanted at the time in Rust-Oleum, so I bought this. And this is going in the trash where it belongs. I should have known that the paint was no good when it took 6 fucking months for my fucking spice rack to cure. And I'm very pissed off, as you can clearly see. So I now have to strip the paint off. I'm going to use a chemical stripper, and I'm going to start all over again. But I'm not going to do it now. I'm so fucking furious that I put all this work into it, and it will not be done in time for my dad to come back from his vacation to see it. I'm giving up on it for the moment. I'm going to put it in a box and forget I even have it. There's a box. I'm going to use that box right there. And I'm going to forget I even have it because I'm so fucking furious. I'm holding this. See, this thing right here, it felt dry. I tapped on it. It seemed perfectly fine. As I'm holding it, my fingerprints are getting in it, and they won't go away. I can't wash them off. I can't clean them off. And then if I put this on a paper towel or a rag or something to wipe it off, the fibers, if given enough time, embed into the paint. So I'm done. This paint is no good. There's not enough cross-linker in it or something. But it's not hardening. And I've had great luck with Rust-Oleum and Duplicolor products in the past, and that's what I'm going to use to finish the project. But like I said, I'm so pissed off right now, I can't even see straight. So, yeah, so much for that. It's going into a box, and it's going to be forgotten about. I'll explain to my dad what happened, and he'll understand, because he's the same way. So, sorry for the foul language, but this is a situation that warrants it. It really does. I put a lot of work into this van. I repainted it 2, 3, 4 times before I finally got it perfect, and this is what happens, and I'm pissed. And they're pissed too. They have to listen to this crap. So, yeah, in the box it goes.